All right, guys. So, quick update, really quickly for you guys. This Thursday, around 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, I will be going live on my Twitch channel. We are going to be covering Summer Games Fest, and I will also be covering the Saints Row character creator initiation station, inauguration station, whatever you want to call it. That's coming out this Thursday, and I will be live giving you my first impressions of it, making their characters. It's going to be a good time. I can't wait. I'm going to be back on Twitch finally after a long, long way away. I will be explaining why I've been gone. If you haven't been seeing my Twitter, it's going to be great. You're going to have a great time. We're going to be talking some games, talking Saints Row. It's going to be really, really special. I can't wait for you guys to come with me on this journey. It's again this Thursday. Link to my Twitch is down in the description. If you have not seen it, followed it, please do. I would really appreciate it. It's this Thursday around 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be going live right as Summer Games Fest is on the air. I will try to be streaming it as well. I don't know if I can. I think I can because I streamed it last year, but no promises. I don't want to get DMCA'd. So just a quick heads up, that is coming out this Thursday. And now onto the video. Hey guys, D-Wall here, and I just wanted to give you a quick little video, quick little analysis video that I've been working on and I've been thinking about for quite a few days now. And I got this idea from someone in the community, fellow Discord I am in, and it's about the gangs in the new Saints Row reboot. And I wanted to talk a little bit about them, and I don't think that many people are talking about them as much as they should be, but I feel like I want to get a little bit more in depth on who they are and what they remind me of and what to expect in this new installment of Saints Row. And first, we're going to start with Los Panteros. Los Panteros, from what I've seen in the trailers and what we've seen in the gameplay, they're very beefy. They're muscle heads. They work out. They have muscle cars. Very show-offy in a way. And they remind me a lot of a mix between the Brotherhood and the Luchadors. Brotherhood from Saints Row 2, Luchadors from Saints Row the 3rd. And the reason I say it is because when you look at Los Panteros and you look at the Brotherhood, you see some of them, most of them have a lot of tattoos. Again, muscle heads. They like to drive around in muscle cars and trucks. And the Brotherhood mostly drove around muscle cars, trucks. Luchadors, very beefy, very muscular, use their power to their advantage rather than any tactical skill or anything like that. They used big cars, big trucks, drove around in the city, and I feel like that's exactly what we're going to get in Santo Ileso. A little mix of both of those styles when it comes to that gang, and they're going to use more power than anything. I've seen them use hammers, kind of like the Deckers in Saints Row the 3rd, but I see it more as a strength weapon. When the Deckers used them, they were more stylish. They had the specialists that roll around in those special roller skates, roller derby things, and they had that hammer, and it was more stylish. When Los Panteros uses it, it's more strength, it's more melee, it's more I'm going to smash you into the ground if I can, if I have to. That's, I think, my interpretation of what I feel they're going to be bringing to the table. More strength, lots of cars, lots of power moves, throwing you around, just trying to overpower you at every chance, using weapons like the big hammers and things like that to try and use and try to pound you into the ground pretty much. Next is the Marshals, and the Marshals are definitely a more interesting one in this reboot. They remind me a lot of Stag, and Stag was definitely in Saints Row the 3rd. They were the ultimate antagonists. like I said, in all 3 games, you had 3 gangs, usually. And the ones I think of the most are Saints Row 2 and Saints Row the Third. In Saints Row 2, you had the Sons of Samdi, the Ronin, and the Brotherhood. And then, after you took care of all those, you had Ultor at the end. In Saints Row the Third, you had the Morningstar, the Luchadors, and the Deckers. And at the end of that, you had Stag to take care of. Marshall reminds me of Stag. They are going to use a lot of robotic technology. They're going to use a lot of futuristic technology. They're going to use a lot of weaponry. More weapons than strength. Weapons are their strength, pretty much, and is what I'm trying to say. And they're going to use that to their advantage in terms of how they will overpower you in this game. Now, Marshall and the regular police are 2 different things, because we've seen in gameplay and trailers that there's Marshall and then there's regular city police. Marshall is basically a company, pretty much. And Marshall Defense Industries is what their whole title is, based in Santo Ileso. But they're not the quote-unquote cops, I do believe. I feel like they're more military. They're more higher up than the regular cops that you see out in the desert. Because when in the gameplay trailer, you've seen the boss driving around on a dirt bike in the desert, and you had regular cop cars, and you've seen it around the city. You've seen just regular, everyday cop cars chasing. That's not Marshall. I believe Marshall is going to be just for extreme measures. It's like if the Saints get too far, too powerful, too much into their territory, that's when Marshall shows up and decides, hey, I think we need to get a little bit more involved here. The police aren't doing their job, so we're going to have to do it for them. And I feel like that's exactly what their job is going to be in this game. It's just like Stag. In Saints Row the Third, Stag was here to destroy all the gangs, in a sense. They were wanting to rid Steelport of those gangs, including the Saints. The Saints were the primary, but they made it perfectly clear they're here to just rid Steelport of gangs. And they even used, at some points, they used the Saints to do just that, because they were getting rid of the other ones, doing their job for them. And Stag said, hey, we want you out. And I believe that's exactly what Marshall is also planning to do. And also, if you look really closely at one of the trailers, you'll see there's a picture, and I may have it up on screen, about Marshall's current company status. And it says, major losses from something Codex incident, private security contracts at a low following loss of Codex, CEO A. Marshall's costly ongoing feud with the gang known as the Saints. Now, the CEO is the guy with the big hat, the one that looks like Doug Dimmadome. That's the big head of Marshall, A. Marshall. And remember, in the backstory, the boss used to work for Marshall. So something must have happened to where the boss didn't want to work for Marshall anymore. Marshall's pissed, and now they're going after the Saints. Massive losses in manpower and technology following the above. So clearly, at this point, because I'm pretty sure that cutscene where that screen is up is part of the story. So I'm sure at some point Marshall will have to address their losses because of what's going on. Loss in tech development following loss of CEO Marshall, which I believe that might have something to do, either the Saints do that or something else happens to where that takes place. Someone who was over tech development, which again, robots, weapons, things like that. Lack of faith from domestic and international military following the above incidents. Now that one's interesting, as well as the one below that. This has resulted in a major loss of military contracts. Now here's the other thing I can think of. Lack of faith from domestic and international military. So that means Marshall is funding these weapons out to other military organizations. So they work on the robots, they work on the weapons, and then they sell them to other international and domestic military operations. Maybe Stag, perhaps? Maybe we get a Stag cameo or a Stag teaser or a Stag Easter egg in this game to say that Marshall is selling weaponry and selling technology to Stag. Who knows? Maybe. The dev said that there's going to be Easter eggs in this game from previous games, so it's not out of the realm of possibility to think that Marshall has been selling weapons and tech to Stag, and that the Saints are effectively making Stag or whoever else military that are getting these weapons from Marshall, they're losing faith in Marshall because they're basically saying, you're the ones that make the weapons, you're the ones that make the technology, yet you can't even handle a street gang. So why should we buy any weapons from you when you can't even handle a little street gang? That's how I interpret it. And I feel like there's a bigger story with Marshall here than meets the eye, especially after you really look and think about those last two lines in that current company status slide in that cutscene. And finally, we have the idols. Now, the idols definitely remind me more of the Deckers than any other gang, because it's not really a mix. It's more just the Deckers. Party life, wild, crazy. We already know from gameplay that they like to gather in groups. They like to fight in groups. They like to swarm and surround you instead of trying to overwhelm you with strength or weaponry. They use numbers. They use the numbers game to their advantage. And that's how they surround and swarm and try to overpower you that way. Not with strength, not with weaponry, but with numbers. The more numbers they have, the better their chances are. I feel like that is something that really is going to be an issue, especially going in later parts of the game. We've already seen the Idols headquarters in certain cutscenes. It's the last resort, at least that's what I feel, because we've seen that a lot in nearly almost every gameplay trailer involving the Idols. We've seen the last resort, and that I feel like is like a club or hangout spot for the Idols. Maybe it's their HQ or their base, because we know Marshall's base is a big cowboy boot in the middle of the city. Los Panteros is probably out in the desert in some kind of, in the first CGI trailer, it was more like a little area of the city where it looked like a gas station or things like that they were hanging out at. Maybe that's their base, and the Idols base is probably out in the suburbs in this big mansion or this club called the Last Resort. And again, they like to swarm and use numbers to their advantage. I also feel like there might be something to these helmets, because Kevin, who used to be in the Idols, had a helmet as well, but his helmet had a bullet hole in it, and one of the ears is kind of shot off. So something happened when he was leaving the Idols that led to that helmet looking the way it does. But I also feel like the Idols helmets will tell a lot as well, because in one of the videos, one of the gameplay videos, we saw one of the Idols with a Genki face. Now that might just be an Easter egg, obviously, for Genki, because Genki was very popular in the old games. But I also feel like there might be something to it. Maybe it shows different emotions that they have, whether they're angry or happy or sad or whatever. Maybe that's something we could do. Maybe if we end up with an Idols helmet, which is a pre-order bonus, you get an Idols helmet. You can customize what is on the helmet at any point. That'd be cool. But the idols, I feel, are going to be more spontaneous and more unpredictable than the other two, because Marshall, again, like I said, they're all about weapons. That's their strength. They use weaponry and technology to get the job done. Los Panteros, they're more like the Brotherhood and the Luchadors. They're more strength, power moves. They'll try and ground and pound you, try to keep you grounded instead of using weapons. Weapons are cool, that's great, and they'll use that to their advantage as well, but they're more along the lines of the strength, melee, brawling style. And then Marshall, again, like I said, weaponry, technology. The idols, spontaneous, swarm you, use numbers game to their advantage. I feel like these three gangs are going to be unique in that aspect because they have certain traits and certain abilities and certain ways they do things that are going to differentiate them throughout the story. And that's something that this game needs. It doesn't need to have the same gangs looking the same, acting the same, sounding the same. There has to be certain quirks and certain differences about them that make them unique and make us want to care about fighting them, because yeah, you want to take them down and that's great, but also the crux of the story is, why do we want to take them down? What makes them so different to where we want to take these guys down? Like the Ronin in Saints Row 2, we had them at a chokehold because they killed Johnny Gat's wife. They were ruthless. They did whatever it took. Whatever it was necessary to get the job done. That was their style. The Brotherhood, strength and well, they weren't necessarily strength in numbers. I could see that a little bit in certain areas, but they were also using their strength and mind games. That's what happened with why Carlos was killed. They used strength in numbers, mind game tactics. Sons of Samdi, definitely mind game tactics, but there's a reason that we wanted to get after these guys. There was a reason that we wanted so badly to see them fall at our hands, and that's what this game needs to do. It needs to hook us in. I know I may be asking for a lot because we still don't know the full story, but I feel like if this is going back to a more grounded Saints Row story, it's not going to be 100% Saints Row 2. I'm not going to compare this game to Saints Row 2 because there's no comparison, like I said in the previous video, because Saints Row 2 will forever stand the test of time on its own as one of the best games ever made. But in terms of this game, at this time, in this era, in this generation, there needs to be more of a reason for us to want to take them down. And I feel like with these distinct personalities and these distinct styles that they have, I feel like if the story matches the style, even if it's not as grounded or anything as we would have liked, if it's a decent story, which I feel it will be, I know it will be at least a good to decent story that I can play through, we can play through, and it will be a wonderful fun time. We can spend time in the world and everything like that. But if that complements these three gangs and maybe a fourth gang that we don't know about, that could be tied into all three at the end, like the other, like Saints Row 2 and Saints Row the Third are, then we got ourselves a great game on our hands. And that's all that matters. That's what matters at the end of the day, is that we have a great game that we can sink our teeth into, that we can spend hours in, just being immersed in the world, being immersed in these gangs, wanting to take them down because they have these distinct styles and these distinct personalities that make us want to say, I want to take you down, and it's going to feel so good when I do it. That, at the end of the day, is the crux of what a good Saints Row game has always been. And I feel like this will be no different coming up on August 23rd. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate all your support, all your love. If you guys like the video, don't forget to leave me a like. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. My Twitch channel is down below as well. All the information you need on all my links down in the description below. Thank you guys again. I'll talk to you guys later.